We now interrupt our regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special report. Good evening. Since the reported death of Elvis Presley in 1977, there have been numerous reports that the king of rock and roll is still alive. Elvis sightings have increased recently. He was reportedly seen a few weeks ago at a pancake breakfast in Bismarck, North Dakota, and just last week was spotted at an all-night White Castle restaurant in Henderson, Kentucky. Most of these reports have been dispelled as rumor or tabloid gossip. However, tonight, July 4th, 1990, we take you live to Fountain Hills, Arizona, where we finally have proof that the king lives.
ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building.
Anyway, again, holy cow, is the crowd beginning to kind of roll in. And we would like to welcome you all to our Music Through the Years celebration, as well as our 20th anniversary celebration here in Fountain Hills, and our American Independence Day celebration, 1990. A lot of things going on even as we speak. And let me take just a moment to let you know exactly what's happening. Let's keep an eye on the timepiece here. We're running just a hair over time, but not too bad. And what that means is that currently we have Pat Harvey, road district manager, in the dunk tank right now. And it's going to be our final dunk tank victim. And if you want to take advantage of talking to someone and watching somebody do some swimming, the dunk tank currently has Pat Harvey in. Also, Nick the Great, magician extraordinaire, right over by the trees down at Fountain Hills Community Theater area. They're going to be and he's going to be kicking on with his next magic show, and it's going to be his final show of the evening. It's coming up at straight up 8 p.m., about 15 minutes from now, and so you're going to want to drop by and check out Nick the Great and his incredible magic show. Also, want to remind you, it's still not too late if you want to run the Circle K or any of the other Fountain Hills merchants which are open right now. In honor of our 20th anniversary, we have all of the food and beverages here in the park on special sale at 25 cents, throwing the prices back 20 years.
The following is a special presentation of HBO Sports. Baseball connects American males with each other, not only through bleacher friendships and neighbor loyalties, but most importantly through generations. You learn your first lesson of the rainbow arc all living makes, but that baseball exaggerates. For when you're in the 6th grade, the rook has fuzz on his face and throws to the wrong base. Before you leave junior high, he is a seasoned regular, the body filled out, his jowl ripples with tobacco. When you graduate from high school, he's a grizzled veteran, even if you are not certain what grizzled means. In a few years, the green shoot becomes the withered stalk, and you learn the hill all beings travel by.
There was a time in baseball when there were only 8 teams in each major league. They played an orderly, balanced schedule, visiting each city 4 times. A trip out west meant St. Louis or Chicago. There was a comfortable rhythm to the season. When they referred to the Giants, it was the New York Giants. The Dodgers were a Brooklyn institution, seemingly forever. There was an American League team in St. Louis and a National League one in Boston. That time is gone now. But it's been said one reason baseball is so gripping to the American imagination is that certain eras inevitably evoke certain images. Perhaps none more so than the years from the end of the Depression through World War II and into the 1950s. It was a time when baseball was the focal point of sports in our society. A time when baseball was still just a game, a familiar game, which in a changing world somehow reassured us with its return every year on the warm winds of spring. Poet Donald Hall.
My heart starts to sing like a bird. I feel my wings stretch out and warm air coming. Spring is the hope of the earth, and baseball is the same hope, the beginning of it. It's wonderful. It's a ritual. It's practically magic, like an old mystery religion.
Spring always has special meaning for the baseball romantic. But for the baseball player of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, spring was anything but an idyllic time of year. In the months before the coming season, a player had to prove to management that he hadn't slowed a step over the winner in a game that didn't pamper its players. St. Louis Cardinal, Enos Slaughter.
They gave me my cap, my belt, top and bottom, and red socks. You bought your own sweat socks, you bought your own jockey strap, you bought your own sweatshirts, and you had to see if they got laundry. You even down had to pay for your own sandwich between double headers. Every year, I went to spring training. They had some young outfielder hit 340, 350. They were going to take my job. Well, you know, they want to get to the big leagues also. Somebody's going to take my job. I'm still hitting 300, driving in close to 100 runs every year, and I knew I had to bear down to hold my job. And I went to spring training every year thinking that I had to make my job.
Pitcher, Eldon Ocker.
We had no assurance of anything. They could release us anytime they wanted to. And we didn't have much to say about it. We just signed a 4-page contract that everybody signed. It didn't make a difference who you were, but you signed it. And they could trade you. They could do anything to you until you were in the major leagues 10 years. You were just like an automobile. They'd get rid of you anytime they wanted and get a new one.
Accuracy and speed, the practiced eye and hefty arm. The mind to take in and readjust to the unexpected. The possession of more than one talent. And the willingness to work in harness without special orders. These are the American virtues that shine in baseball. It is graphic and choreographic. Baseball is a kind of collective chess with arms and legs in full play under sunlight.
When the major leagues were made up of just 16 teams, the game was in many ways heartless and mean. Spots on a roster had to be earned every year, and there was hardly a player to be found who didn't take his job seriously. Chicago Cub, Billy Herman.
The only thing we had in our minds was to win. Any way we could, we'd try to win. And if that wasn't good enough, well, you go back home and get a lunch pail and go to work. Now, if they didn't play hard, he wouldn't have a friend on the club, and he wouldn't be there long. If you were on first base and the batter hit a ground ball, had to take that runner out. If you didn't take that runner out, well, you'd come on the bench and you'd almost have to fight some of your teammates. The biggest mistake I ever made in the major leagues was my first time at bat. I got a base hit. The next time up, I got hit right in the head.
Enos Slaughter.
If you can't get brushed back or get knocked back once in a while, you got no business in this game. Every time the Cardinals and Dodgers played, if 2 or 3 guys didn't get knocked down, so it's not a Cardinals and Dodgers game. They'd knock me down. I knew every pitch in the league that knocked me down and hit one me in the middle of the back. I didn't forget them. If they ever covered first, I'd try to cut the legs off. It didn't bother me at all.
Slaughter no doubt inherited some of his swagger from his Cardinal predecessors, the original Gas House Gang. A collection of fast-talking, free-spirited players like Leo DeRocher, who never ducked a fight and always played hard. In the 30s, the Gas House Gang Cardinals were not only baseball's best team, but also the most colorful. Witness Pepper Martin in 1937, showing off his legendary juggling act. Entertaining came naturally to the Gas House Gang. Keeping clean, however, was another matter. New York Yankee Tommy Henrik.
I saw Frankie Fish in New Orleans in '36 when they were the real Gas House Gang with Pepper Martin. And they came around there, most of them needed a shave. And every one of them had a dirty uniform on. I said, what a bunch of bums. Now, these are really the Gas House Gang.
Immaculate uniforms meant little to men with rowdy reputations. Winning, however, meant everything. Never was the Cardinals' raucous, hell-bent style of play more evident than in their 1934 World Series appearance against the Detroit Tigers. Cardinal infielder Burgess Whitehead.
Doc Weaver was our trainer when I was a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. He brought a camera into the dugout during the '34 World Series and made a lot of pictures of different plays and of the different players. Detroit was such a wild baseball city then. We had to have security guards, you might call them, to stand at the door of the Book Cadillac Hotel in Detroit so we could get in. The people were just crowded around the hotel. The Gas House Gang was the greatest baseball club I ever saw. They thought they could beat any ball club, and they just about could, too. Of course, we had some characters on that club, like Pepper Martin, one of the hustlest ball players I ever saw. Dizzy Dean and Leo DeRocher, one of the greatest shortstops I ever played alongside. When they got on that ball field, they played baseball. I mean, they played it to the hilt, too. And when they slid hard, and there was no good fellowship between them and the opposition. They were just good, tough ball players. That was a tough series. It was a hard-fought series, and the players hustled so hard. It was because of the depression, and they wanted that winner's share. The series went 7 games, and the deciding game, the 7th game, Dizzy Dean beats Eldon Alpha 11-0. It enabled me to help my family. My father had kind of tough luck during the Depression, and that's when we got $6,800 out. But I don't know, that $6,800 was mighty good.
I suppose there must be some item that an American boy might treasure more fiercely than a Louisville slugger with his own signature on it. But I can't think of one. For all of us who grew up on sandlots and playgrounds, ripping Louisville sluggers bearing the autographs of Major League stars. The thought of owning one with our name on the barrel is almost too much to comprehend.
All baseball players enter the field of play with the same tools: a bat, a ball, and a glove. The bat helps keep the batter alive, but when the ball is hit, it's the glove that becomes most important. That might explain why players become so attached to the single piece of equipment they can spend an entire career with. Infielder Bill Werber.
The glove that I used was a little bit larger than my hand. I had my gloves all made out of the belly of the cow because it was soft. Didn't need a lot of breaking in, but they weren't a large glove. I never dropped any balls, but you could maneuver them.
Perhaps the most interesting fact about gloves in the 30s and 40s was what happened to them between innings. Rather than take their gloves into the dugout after the third out was made, the fielders of the day simply left their gloves on the field and retrieved them on their way out to their positions. It was a practice that held true until the mid-50s. Author Robert Creamer.
You see a play where a shortstop would end the inning by making a catch of a line drive. He'd catch the ball, flip the ball to an umpire, and throw the glove up there like that. It would sort of spin and it would land on the field out there. And it was such a pretty thing to see. The guys trying out the field and bending down and picking up their glove and taking it again. It's antique.
Antique, too, were the uniforms, perhaps the most identifiable feature of baseball's golden age. Loose-fitting and made of heavy wool, a father might have been proud to show off the colorful uniforms of the day, but they weren't exactly designed with comfort in mind. Brooklyn Dodger, Duke Snyder.
I mean, you go into St. Louis, Cincinnati in the summertime, and it's a hot, humid day, and you get those wool uniforms, you start perspiring, and get those things wet, and they pick up some weight. All of a sudden, you're carrying 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds extra along with you. As baggy as they weren't all that comfortable, but we didn't know any better. So we were comfortable.
Without a doubt, baseball's most recognizable uniform has always belonged to the New York Yankees. Unending years of sartorial splendor in pinstripes. Other teams, however, frequently change their look. For instance, in spring training before the 1942 season, the New York Giants gathered around their player-manager Mel Ott, wearing uniforms during the war that were a patriotic red, white, and blue. The pre-World War II Pittsburgh Pirates wore black and red, while during the same era, the Philadelphia Phillies uniforms were predominantly blue. Whether they have remained the same over the years or changed a great deal, uniforms, like the players who wear them, give us the means to savor the game's past. Author Donald Honey.
A team can bring back an era. A player can recreate the sense of the year. Baseball freezes these moments and holds them until you want to think about them. And then they're released again in all their youthful energy and vitality as they were. A ball players never age in memory, always young.
Teams, however, do disappear, or more accurately, change locations or names. And the nostalgia that their uniforms evoke is part of what we have left to remember them by.
For a few hours or a summer, we think we know them. These young men in three-colored caps playing the game of boyhood that breathe in our eyes. Do they play for us, or are they performing the ancient demands of their decorated bodies? They wear their names on their backs, but they wear costumes designed the century past, of gentlemen meeting of a Sunday on the grass.
For a period of 4 seasons, from 1942 through 1945, World War II affected baseball in pretty much the same manner it affected everyday life. The game went on, but it couldn't possibly be the same, not with constant reminders at ballparks around America that we were indeed at war. There were even those who considered suspending baseball, but, as Eldon Auker remembers, the most influential and important American was not among them.
President Roosevelt wanted professional baseball to continue, and the reason for it was to keep up the morale of the people during the war. He said that baseball was such an American pastime. He said for us to quit baseball wouldn't be right. To impress upon all owners and all players that they should continue and not quit just because war started. And I think that that was an expression of how the people felt in those days about baseball.
New York Yankee Tommy Henrik.
A lot of the best ball players went into the service. So it's a doggone cinch. Each team, the brand of ball they're playing is going to be a little inferior to what they had before the Stars left.
In fact, with most of baseball's best players at war, the previously inept St. Louis Browns won their first and only American League pennant in 1944. Attendance during the war years suffered too, and in an effort to encourage more fans to attend games, team owners came up with several outlandish contests involving players, the winners receiving no more than a $100 war bond. Continued, some with celebrities from outside baseball like Jesse Owens, who raced and barely beat George Case of the Cleveland Indians in 1946. In the early 50s, stars like Abbott and Costello would make occasional appearances at ballparks. Here, they're at a Boston Braves game, answering the question of, who's on first? In the 30s and 40s, it was not unusual to see players or coaches participate in comedy sketches for the newsreels. In this case, the foil is Benny Bengal of the Washington Senators. Comedy and baseball have had a long and entertaining partnership. Former pitcher Al Shack, who was known as the Clown Prince of Baseball, appeared at 25 World Series, including the 1940 series at Tiger Stadium. When Shack retired in the early 50s, it was Max Patkin who inherited the title of Clown Prince. Amazingly, Patkin performed not only before the game, but during it as a legitimate first base coach. Max Patkin.
When I do my routine, I try to do it between pitches. I usually have between 10 and 15 seconds. You'd be surprised what 10 seconds means to a Max Patkin on the coaching line. So it gives me a chance to go through that goofy thing of motion with my neck, my arms, my legs, just to make out I'm giving a sign to the batter. That would give me just enough time. All I needed was 8 to 10 seconds. Bing, 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 bump, boom, ba, that. And, you know, and when I looked at those days, I'm telling you, I was the dumbest looking thing you ever saw in that coaching line. Strike one. Strike two. Strike
Don't be a chump. For we know without a doubt, man, that ump will put you out. Whoop-de-doo-dee-doo. Whoop-de-doo-dee-doo. We came to see the
Before the 1950s, teams traveled to and from games by train, bringing them together, but with a lifestyle that was far from glamorous. Enos Slaughter.
We'd play a doubleheader in St. Louis. I'd lose 16-pound doubleheader. We'd rush to the railroad station, jump the train. Time we got over into Indiana, through Illinois, the air conditioning go off. Monday morning, we'd get up, and they'd have Ricky would have an exhibition someplace out in Ohio, Indiana. They'd pull our Pullman cars off to the side. We'd get out and play an exhibition game. Then we'd get back on a train. And next morning you wake up going around Horseshoe Curve in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and pull into Philadelphia and play that night.
St. Louis Cardinal, Whitey Kurowski.
Many times we'd have those 18, 24-hour trips on a train. Well, before we'd hit the sack, we'd get back in a club car or someplace in the men's room, and then all of us, we'd be talking about the ball game. To us, we were just one big happy family.
Doubtless, there are better places to spend summer days, summer nights, than in ballparks. Doubtless. Nevertheless, decades after a person has stopped collecting bubblegum cards, he can still discover himself collecting ballparks. And not just the stadiums, but their surrounding neighborhoods, their smells, their special seasons and moods. Quaint? Sure. Beautiful? Not really. However, when the sun is bright and the air crisp and your seat seems closer to the diamond than the on-deck hitter, all is forgiven.
In the days before television, the only way a person could see a baseball game was to come to the stadium. There was perhaps no greater feeling than spending an afternoon at the ballpark. Poet Donald Hall.
Walking through the crowds into that great small old stadium, and there they were in the flesh. I can see them now in their baggy old pants. The players whom I had heard about, whom I'd seen photographs, but there they were really walking around, live people, and the absolute enchantment, enthrallment of the tension of starting a game, play ball.
Author Donald Honig.
When you went out to the ball game, it was someplace special. And these guys was something special to you, and you really focused on it because you didn't see them anywhere else. All the rest of the time and all winter, you talked about them and argued about them with your friends. And then that special occasion, when you went out, your father took you, your older brother, or you were a young teenager, and you went out yourself, and you're still very impressionable. And you were able to watch these guys up close. It made quite an impact. The PA system. The voice of God, is coming down. Who the hell ever announced lineups? We all played on the sandlots. And suddenly this voice comes, reading the lineup. It's coming down from the heavens. This is an incredible thing, the first time. It was 1941. I was just 10 years old. and there was a Dodger Cardinal game, and we came up the ramp heading for the cheap seats. And for a moment, I had a glimpse of the field, and standing up and outside the dugout, looking right at me, it's Johnny Mize, big John Mize of the St. Louis Cardinals. And it just struck me. I said to my brothers, Johnny Mize. You know, my brother got all excited. It hit you all at once.
Like nearly all of the pre-expansion ballparks, Boston's Fenway Park was built in several stages. In fact, Fenway's most recognizable feature, the Green Monster, wasn't erected until the park was more than 20 years old. And in the 30s and 40s, green paint took a back seat to advertisements. There was even a time when Chicago's Wrigley Field didn't have its signature ivy on the walls, or its famous outfield bleachers. In 1937, temporary stands could be seen in right field, but full construction of the bleachers didn't begin until midway through the 1938 season. The same year, the ivy was planted. Each of the grand old ballparks was unique in its appearance, but the meaning they had to those who went there was the same. Author Ray Robinson.
The stands looked enormous. The outfielders who were cavorting in the outfield looked to be, miles away from you, and this cavernous cathedral that you went to, was enormous. And you're a little boy, and everything looked so large and bigger than life in your mind's eye.
I want to go to the ball game.
Donald Hall.
American men, not all of us, but a great many of us, think back to baseball in connection with our fathers, maybe with our grandfathers, with uncles, with people who played particular games sometimes, but also people with whom we went to particular games, or people we played catch with. There is something historical about baseball.
And for the home team with a hip, 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 hooray. Let's sit with the boys and we'll make lots of noise at the baseball game. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and
You walk into the portals and you look down beneath you, you see that green grass, as I hope and wish and cherish in my conservative way, the grass field shining in front of you, and you are not just back in time, but you are outside of time. We have something that separates itself out from duration. For one island there, we are 62 years old, we are 12 years old, we are 40 years old, and the game exists in some island outside of time, some eternal present, which is a kind of corridor into eternity.
The one ballpark that stood out in terms of its size and baseball significance was the old Yankee Stadium. Opened in 1923, it was the most dramatic of three ballparks within the boundaries of New York City. Just across the river from Yankee Stadium stood the Polo Grounds. Robert Creamer.
I was, hundreds of miles from home, and I sat in this sort of empty room, maybe 15 guys scattered around, listening to the radio, and I just felt so far away from baseball. I really felt lonesome. And a big sergeant came in, big top sergeant, and he had a cigar. He was sitting a few feet away from me, and the cigar smoke floated over to where I was, and I thought of the Polo Grounds. It just came back to me with a wave, this marvelous feeling that I was at a ballpark all of a sudden because of that stinking cigar.
like a baseball game. Crazy about a ball.
The third stadium in New York was Brooklyn's Ebbets Field. Like nearly all of the ballparks of its day, Ebbets Field had some very interesting physical features, largely because it was built within the confines of its surrounding neighborhood. But what was really unique about Ebbets Field was the relationship between the Dodgers, their fans, and their ballpark. Dodger announcer Red Barber.
Ebbets Field was typically Brooklyn. It belonged to Brooklyn. The fans felt it was theirs. They were close to the players. They felt the players were not only theirs, they felt they were their children. They could jeer at them and call them bums, but nobody else had better do it. No outsider had better do it, and certainly no giant fan had better come into Ebbets Field and do it. And the borough of Brooklyn lived and died with that ball club. When the Dodgers lost an afternoon game, there were a lot of cold suppers. It didn't get eaten.
Dodger fans were for the most part blue-collar. Still, at the 1952 World Series, it was not unusual to see someone like Humphrey Bogart at Ebbets Field, rooting for the Dodgers along with everyone else, even Lauren Bacall. In New York, picking a team to root for took on special meaning. Robert Creamer.
You'd say to somebody, what are you, a Dodger fan? Giant fan? I mean, there was identification. Are you Catholic, Protestant, Jewish? You were a Giant fan, Dodger fan, Yankee fan? It was a thing, and that's what you were. And it was part of your life.
It was also part of a ball player's life. Infielder Bill Werber.
When we were in Boston, we represented the town of Boston, and we loved Boston. When I was playing with Cincinnati, we were winning pennants there. We all, right down to the last man, wanted to win for the people in Cincinnati. And when we won championships and won the World Series, why, we were just delighted that we could do something for those good people.
Where's Babe Ruth, the king of SWAT who rocked the heavens with his blows? Grabowski, Pennock, and Malone. Mother of mercy, where are those? Where's the swagger? Where's the strut? Where's the style that makes the hitter? Where's the pitcher's swan-like motion? What in God's name turned life bitter? Is there a heaven with rainbow flags, silver trophies hung on walls, a horseshoe grandstand, mobs of fans, webbed gloves, and official balls? Where's Tony Push-Em-Up Lazzari, the quickest man that ever played? Where's the gang that raised the roof in the house that Colonel Rupert made?
In 1938, the Chicago Cubs won the National League pennant, and the city responded by saluting its champions in a pre-World Series parade. This film of the parade and of the subsequent World Series is believed to provide the oldest existing color images of a World Series, taken just a few years after 16mm color film was available to the public.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you said it. This is the first game of the 1938 World Series. This is George Hicks speaking for the National Broadcasting Company at Wrigley Field, Chicago, Illinois.
Quite a crowd milling down around the box there near the Yankees dugout where sits Judge Landis this afternoon. You may be interested in some of the home run records of these Yankees.
He comes swinging along behind them, and behind them comes the entire squad of the Chicago Cubs, dressed in their home team uniforms, white with blue stripes.
Cubs pitcher Clay Bryant.
I faced good hitters in the National League before we played the Yankees in the World Series, so I wasn't all too much about the Yankees. I know we read about them and knew about Dickey, Gehrig, and Gordon, Crissetti, and Rolfe, and Selkirk, and DiMaggio, and Hendricks, but we knew about them, but we figured, and all the pitching staff, and I think the whole ball club figured we could beat them. I saw the lineup, and sure, I looked at them, and I knew they were good, but I will say this. After the series is over, they're the greatest club I've seen in baseball. Yeah, well, like Rip Collins says we come, we saw, and we went home after 4 straight.
Yankee right fielder Tommy Henrik played on the 38 team, which featured a young Joe DiMaggio, as well as fellow Hall of Famers Lefty Gomez and Bill Dickey, and an aging Lou Gehrig.
The 1938 Yankees were the type of team that came out every day to beat you. And that's the way McCarthy wanted his ball players to act. He wanted professionalism out of his ball players. Somebody was saying, McCarthy, you like Joe Gordon, don't you? He says, I sure do. He says, why do you like him? He says, I'll show you why. Hey, Joe, come over here. He says, what's your batting average? Gordon says, I don't know. So what's your fielding average? He says, I don't know. Okay, Joe. And he walks away, and McCarthy says, that's what I like. All he does is come to beat you. Okay? Multiply that by 9. That's a tough outfit to beat. My greatest feeling was getting dressed in the Yankee uniform because I knew I was with a bunch of pros. That was my thrill. I said, this is a ball club.
From 1936 through 1939, the Yankees won 4 straight championships. Author, Donald Honey.
I think that was the team that established what is the Yankees' so-called corporate image. Businesslike, of intense sobriety, no nonsense. They were expected to win. They went out there to win. And Gehrig, I think, was the first one to establish this image, being extremely serious in all business on a baseball field.
The quality of play that Lou Gehrig brought to the Yankees was matched only by the quality of his person. Gehrig was the magnificent Yankee, and his departure under tragic circumstances in 1939 might have ruined the lesser team. The Yanks, however, never slipped in stature nor standing, a great deal of which had to do with the incredible talents of Joe DiMaggio, the man who carried the Yankee torch after Gehrig. Donald Honey.
This was the ultimate ball player, not only for talent, but for style and grace. This was the epitome of celestial craftsmanship in a ball player. DiMaggio has to this day a mystique. And like most mistakes, it's unexplainable. Is he shy? Is he aloof? Is he a snob? What is he? To the fan, it never really mattered, because there was Joe out on the ball field.
Author, Robert Creamer.
When Barrow was a rookie, he hit a pop fly and jogged down to first base. And I think the ball was dropped. And he had to scurry to get to where he was going, and DiMaggio gave him that cold look. And apparently when DiMaggio looked at people coldly, they just shriveled. He had a sense of command, an aura of being, majestic almost. He was the king.
DiMaggio's Yankees had many rivals, but perhaps none drove them to excel as much as the Boston Red Sox, a team with 5 future Hall of Famers in its lineup in the early 1940s. Tommy Henrik.
It was something special. It was absolutely something special. For years, Red Sox Yankees. Oh, boy. It's the highlight of the year. What made it special was the talent on both sides. We knew we had a good ball club. We got DiMaggio on our side. They got Williams. They got Bobby Dorr. We got Joe Gordon. They had Joe Cronin, who could hit with anybody. Jimmy Fox. Jeez. You think you're not going to fear those birds? And we went up against them, and there were some tremendous battles. Oh, and Bobby Dorr says, why didn't we win? Didn't we have a good ball club? I says, you scared us to death, Bobby. Sure you had a good ball club. Why didn't we win? I says, I don't know. I think the owner liked you more than our owners liked us. I says, I used to walk through your parking lot out there, and I said, most all of the things in there were Cadillacs. I says, we had to bear down more for ours.
After the war, the Red Sox often approached greatness, but never attained their ultimate goal of winning the World Series. They won the pennant in '46, but lost the series to the Cardinals in 7 games. In '48, the Indians beat them in a playoff, and in '49, they fell to the rival Yanks on the last day of the season. Poet Donald Hall.
There is surely something in the embers of the Red Sox in particular that has to do with not mere defeat, but glorious defeat, or almost making it, or the whole series of crucial moments. And I think that defeats are talked about more, and moments of losing it, than any moments of victory.
More than any other single player, it was Ted Williams who epitomized the Red Sox persona.
He was our Achilles, our reluctant warrior, our sullen genius. And he could be counted on always to be doer and difficult and superb. Yes, he's indelibly Boston. One of the portions of my memory of baseball, which is purest and most joyous, is rehearsing in my mind the swing of Ted Williams. He coiled on himself like a barber pole turning around. He had that compact swing that was totally efficient, strong, and that looked loose and graceful, although it was so compact and efficient. It was a wonderful thing to see. I can see it in my head as often as I like.
How dear to my heart was the old-fashioned batter, who scattered line drives from the spring to the fall. He did not resemble the up-to-date batter who swings from his heels and misses the ball. The up-to-date batter I'm not very strong for. He shatters the ozone with all of his might, and that is the reason I hanker and long for those who doubled to left and tripled to right. The old-fashioned batter, the eagle-eyed batter, the thinking man's batter, who tripled to right.
The great men of baseball are at the very heart of the game. They are the ones who set the standards, the ones who created the memories. They take us to different heights. They allow us to dream. Before 1947, everyone affiliated with baseball in any capacity, every player, every coach, every manager, every owner, shared at least one common denominator, the color of their skin. Poet Donald Hall.
The game that I grew up with was a white game, and it is appalling, of course, to think back and realize that as I was growing up, it was a white game and I didn't notice. I didn't object. I had no notion When we look back to that injustice, we're looking back to American history, not the parts of it that we're proudest of, but it's part of our social history, part of our cultural history. That terrible split, and then the commencement of healing of that wound with Jackie Robinson.
Brooklyn Dodger, Don Newcomb.
Even though I didn't have a Joe DiMaggio or Ted Williams or Babe Ruth as an idol, I developed an idol. His name was Jackie Robinson. It was just such a phenomenal era. We wondered whether or not it would ever happen. And Jackie said, I'm going to make it happen. He would say that many, many times. I'm going to make it happen. They're not going to be able to stop me. I had no idea where my life would go. I had no idea that I'd ever be a part of history.
Soon after Robinson, new heroes like Roy Campanella would emerge. Gradually, as the landscape of the game changed, baseball became integrated. Now, it was truly a national pastime. The 50s saw the arrival of many of the game's greatest players, some who would go on to rewrite baseball's record book. The inevitable breaking of the color barrier also allowed for some of the older, established stars of the Negro Leagues, like Satchel Paige, to finally pitch in the major leagues. It wasn't something that erased the years of injustice. It only served to remind us of what we missed. America is a country which encourages and welcomes change. Through the years, sometimes on its own, or sometimes with a little push, baseball was able to accept and incorporate some of those changes into the fabric of the game. Some improved it. Others made us long for the game we used to know. But the important thing to remember is that baseball was just living up to its moniker as the American pastime. Ultimately, when the population began to shift out west, so too did baseball. The Braves moved to Milwaukee. The Dodgers and Giants left New York. That signaled the beginning of new chapters in the history of the game. But sadly, it also meant the end of certain others. Author Lawrence Ritter.
When you're abandoned, I think you're living in a dream world if you continue after the abandonment to glorify the one that left you. It's sort of self-defeating, not to mention quite irrational. My team left. I don't have any romanticism left. I don't have a team anymore. I was a Giant fan. There aren't any New York Giants anymore.
There might not be any New York Giants anymore, or St. Louis Browns, or Washington Senators. The days of watching Ted Williams and left are long over, and the wondrous Willie Mays no longer wears his uniform. Time marches on. Transition is inevitable. With each passing day, the game of our youth moves even further into history. But those vivid images that are so much a part of our life will always remain.
Game called. Across the field of play, the dusk has come, the hour is late. The fight is done, and lost or won, the player files out through the gate. The tumult dies. The cheer is hushed. The stands are bare. The park is still. But through the night there shines the light, home beyond the silent hill.
Game called. We're in the golden light. The bugle rolled the reveille. The shadows creep where night falls deep, and Paps has called the end of play. The game is done, the score is in, the final cheer and jeer have passed. But in the night beyond the fight, the player finds his rest at last. Game called. Upon the field of life, The darkness gathers far and wide. The dream is done. The score is sprung. That stands forever in the guide. Nor victory, nor yet defeat is chalked against the player's name. But down the roll, the final scroll shows only how he played the game.
In association with Black Canyon Productions, this has been a presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions. HBO Sports is proud to present the Unified Lightweight Championship of the world. Olympic gold medalist Purnell Sweet Pea Whitaker takes on WBA #1 contender Oli Diaz. Then, the battle of the knockout artist. Michael Moore, undefeated, 23 wins, all by knockout, takes on Alex Stewart, 26 knockouts. Someone's going down. Don't miss Whitaker Diaz and Moore Stewart. Live Saturday, July 27th, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
Coming up next, an axe is the weapon of choice when a high school becomes a mortuary. In Cutting Class, next on HBO.
One of the most powerful movies this summer, based on a controversial true story. How one man nearly won the war on drugs until he was stopped by the U.S. government.
Is it not singing or you just don't like the song?
But you won't find this movie in the theater.
This is a double cross by the government.
Because there's only one place this story will be told. HBO. Double Cross, starring Dennis Hopper. Premieres Saturday, July 20th on HBO. The promise of love. A test of devotion. A moment of passion. 6 stars as you've never seen them before. Women and Men, too. The HBO original movie in August.
HBO's 4-day weekends bring you twice the fun all summer long. Double Feature Friday delivers a pair of Bill Murray comic capers. First up, he stars with Gina Davis and Randy Quaid in Quick Change. Then he's back in the box office smash Scrooge. Saturday, more laughs with the Saturday night movies and stand-up comedy. Steve Martin's a relocated mobster. Rick Moranis is a federal agent. Together, they head out to the heartland in the exclusive premiere of My Blue Heaven. Then we're talking serious comedy with the premiere of Sam Kinnison's new HBO Comedy Hour. Be advised that Sam's language can be very graphic at times. Then the Sunday night movies, a futuristic drama. Robert Duvall, Natasha Richardson, and Faye Dunaway star in The Handmaid's Tale. And every Sunday night, a new episode of HBO's sexy comedy, Dream On. This Sunday, Martin gets a new boss. Then the Monday main event brings home your favorites. This Monday, Sean Connery, Dustin Hoffman, and Matthew Broderick team up for a bungled burglary in Family Business. Weekends the way they ought to be. HBO's 4-day weekends are simply the best.
The following movie is rated R.
Paula, crying out loud, you shouldn't.
You look like the mail order outdoorsman.
Thank you.
You are supposed to be taking the week off. You're just going to find something in here that's going to upset you.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Quite a girl. Honey, this is the first time I've left you alone
I
for any...
should be worried. Daddy, you are a great sister to Tammy, but you're a lousy hunter.
I've never left you alone for a week, honey. I just want you to listen carefully, and I want you to promise me 3 things. Number 1...
Do my homework.
Well, don't just do your homework. I want you to attack it with a vengeance. You know, the difference between law school and learning a locksmith trade through the mail could be something as simple as one single math assignment.
What's two?
No boys in the house while I'm away.
We already have the genetics talk.
I have to say it.
I know.
And number 3, and most important, no
Cutting
class. Until then, you're Daddy's little girl. Bye-bye. You're a good girl.
Welcome to a chill zone, pal.
Hi. I heard the mallards run about 15, 20 pounds.
You want a bag of mallards?
Yeah. That's why I'm out here camping.
Come on. Yeah. You smell like the city. Now you smell like the earth.
Thanks. This is what the doctor ordered. You know you ought to bottle that stuff.
Yeah.
So minerals is a world of immense complexity. And fascination. Well, come in. You're just about to see the best part. Oh, the excitement of chemistry. Take a sodium and chlorine. Together, they combine to give us sodium chloride. Can anyone name that? Why? Salt? Correct. Common table salt. But sodium and chlorine separately are highly volatile. Chlorine dropped into water gives off a deadly gas.
Didn't they use that stuff in World War I?
Oh, it was outlawed, even too horrible for warfare. Breathing it, it caused the lungs to burn, then melt. Watch what happens when our friend Mr. Sodium goes swimming in ordinary H2O. You do know what that is, right? Now that was just a small piece of sodium. Imagine what a lump like this would do.
Keep it in your pants. Get up the rope.
Come on, Brian. Yeah. All the way top, big guy. Go, big guy. Do it.
Brian, what are you doing? Okay, smartass, 30 push-ups. Concentrate, Wood. Concentrate. Hey.
Hi, Gary. And by the way, Frankenstein's staring at you. What are you looking at?
Nothing?
Oh, I think Brian likes you. Oh, Brian, she likes you. She's available Friday night.
Go to your house, huh?
Why?
Well, your father's still hunting. You can be alone.
What do you have in mind?
I got my brother's ID, grab some beers.
But why is he? But I can see through you like a piece of glass.
Pull in. Who asked you? Hmm?
But here is low rent and no mess. All got glass. It would look a hell of a lot better.
Like what?
Like your ring. Your ring. I think it's about time she got something for it. Oh, yeah. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get something to eat. You want anything?
Well, if I can't have your ring, I have this craving for a hot dog. Who's this for?
You.
How did you know that I wanted one?
You have that look.
I can eat that tonight. Why not? I'm hungry. Brian would be scared.
Get in the car.
Why?
Get in the car. Roll up the window. Where's Brian? We were friends once, you know, we used to do things together, but that's not gonna happen anymore.
I went to a hospital. I'm better now.
See, when I broke my leg, they took an x-ray to see if it was fixed. When it was, they took out the cast and sent me home. But you went to a mental hospital with a broken mind. Now, there's no way they can just take a picture and see if that's okay. They just have to guess.
What are you so afraid of? I can forgive you.
Right, old buddy? Hmm? Let me make one thing clear. Leave Paula and me alone. Hmm?
Dwight, come on!
Hmm? Check it out. I'm the district attorney. Hmm?
Take it off.
I don't mind. For others, probably a little bigger than I am. Of course, I'm much bigger when it really counts.
Not until you're great and proud.
At that rate, we'll never do it.
Attention, faculty and students. Presenting.
I want to thank the person responsible for the obscene caricature of me in the Ewing laboratory. So you were very generous with your portrayal, but in the future I do wish
That you would restrict your talents to the art class.
I don't want you to do this.
What do you mean to tell us?
class is about to start. Shouldn't we be bouncing a ball somewhere?
You like boys, don't you?
Nope. Well, get out of here. I want you all to do a twirl. No laughing or sniggering.
What are we going to do today?
Action poses. The dynamics of muscle in relation to the form. For example, say Paula was reaching for an apple.
Sure, I do.
Bend over and pick it up. But stay in that position. Do you see the different muscle groups? They enlarge to facilitate the movement. Can you see the stretching? The definition? What are you doing back there? You, come here. Oh, you want to be in my art class? I'll put you in my art class. You can always use another model. There, hold it high. And Paula, you reach for it. Way up. Out. Now, see how the center line is straight from head to toe? The muscles are tense.
This is your last chance to participate in tomorrow's basketball game.
What if I come down with rickets? Or lupus? Or I have a grand mal seizure? Is the ticket refundable?
It's only 50 cents.
Not the 50 cents, it's the principal.
I am a principal, and I say that if you buy a ticket, you will be clapping erasers until your hair turns gray.
I'll, have two.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I'm just trying to drum up a little school spirit.
Well, you're doing great.
Well, flattery will get you everywhere. Stop by my office, would you?
What?
It's a surprise.
You scheduled to work in the office this week?
How do you know?
Well, I have an appointment with the Bunyan's office, so I won't be here. As far as the door.
Oh, no problem. I got my key.
On the floor. Sorry, darling. I'll turn around.
Mr. Dante, you'll see me tomorrow.
Just sign this. It says that you will take good care of your phone.
Oh, you know I will. Oh, thank you, Mr. Dante. I'm never going to forget this.
Neither will I.
Love you. What are you doing in my car?
Kissing you?
Usually I'm studying.
Studying. So what does principal want,
You want to sit in the cheerleading uniform.
Cool. Cool, let's drive. Let's just get out of here, huh?
I can't. I got homework to do tomorrow.
And you do it tomorrow. Get a six-pack, celebrate.
I'm sorry. This is schoolwork is more important right now.
Schoolwork is more important right now. You know, it sounds like something your father would say. I'm out of here.
White! Come on, don't be mad.
Hey, I don't get mad. I get even. on math books. You know, books, read, books, books.
The thing with pages.
Yeah.
Never saw one. The school is closed.
Okay, Joel, come on. I have to get this book. I will fail my class if I do not get this book. Joel! Joel! Come back! Joel! Asshole!
What's the matter, Schultz? Will let you in?
Bucket, look at the beer. Come on.
There's art. Dirt.
Oh, that.
Very nice.
Ice cream and beer.
Hey guys, I'm studying.
You want something?
I will give you a kiss and go.
Well, I'll take a kiss, but what we really want is the key to the school files.
I can't give this to you. They gave me this key because I'm responsible.
We just want to see what's in Bronwood files. Come on, aren't you curious? Forget my solemn word. We'll be right out in 10 minutes. No one will ever know. Just a little secret.
I don't know. I really don't know. Hey, come on, bud. Give us an incentive. Let her have your ring.
Nobody gets my family ring.
Is this worth seeing the file?
Just give her the stupid ring, man.
So much.
No. No way.
Sure now. Positive? Huh?
Bye.
I got shotgun.
Come on, just slow down.
That hard to study without these?
You are such a jerk.
All right, move it out.
Like a beer? No. Ice cream? No.
Oh, what a shame. So glad to fix it.
Boy, lots of them. It smells like somebody died in here.
Spot the enemy. Take aim. Squeeze the trigger. Retreat. Smoke the joint. Put them through the top now. Hold off my eyebrows here. Ladies first?
Oh, I thank you.
No, I said ladies first.
These are all Victor Weldon Wood. Brian Wood. He was a cannibal.
Oh, how can I eat another person?
With a knife and a fork. Student Brian Woods, age 17, reading to school September 5th, 1988, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The medical report.
Now, if Brian is a cannibal, what do you think his favorite part of his body is?
Breast. Like that white meat. I might add, yours are big enough to feed a family of 4. Reason for admittance, violent schizophrenic. Treatment, electroconvulsive therapy. What's electroconvulsive therapy? Shock treatment.
We gotta go.
No, we don't. I have a lot more to find out about Mr. Brian Woods.
Here's mine.
Garrett, check this out.
Put it back to us. Come on.
He got shocked every day he was in the hospital.
Back. I'm gonna change my IQ.
Every single day. How could they do that to him?
300 too high.
And then they suddenly released him. 75 watts? Is that all they did to him? My stereo is more than 75 watts. This is the good stuff. Wait.
Good morning, class. Today we're going to study the relationship between time, distance, and speed. Space over time equals speed, because time is space divided by speed. Do you understand? Any questions? Now, the train leaves Chicago at 7, heading for Boston. It goes 50 miles an hour. How long does it take the train to arrive at its destination if Boston is hypothetically 400 miles away? Why? Look at the answer on your paper.
75 watts, sir.
What were you doing last night, Dwight, while you were supposed to be completing your homework?
Well, Mr. Glenn, you know, I tried to get my book, but that janitor...
The janitor! The homework-eating dog. That's another 0 in my grade book. One more, you'll fail the class.
Mr. Glenn,
David,
I tried.
Who has the answer?
Is it 8 hours?
8, yes. Very good.
There isn't a species of bird or animal out here that I can't identify. Mother Nature talks to you.
Sounds like Mother Nature has cramps.
That was the cry of a bullfrog making a lonely cry for its mate.
What the hell do you want?
I knew I'd find you guys doing something like this. And Mr. Engel, they're all here.
Mr. Nicholson. This is my son, Dwight. This is Mr. Nicholson. He's from the university. He's here to scout you for that basketball scholarship. I don't have to tell you, it took a lot of talking to get him to come down to see you.
My men are on the court for practice at least 1 hour before each game. Seems like your son wants to practice something else.
No, sir. No, sir. Dwight is just going inside, weren't you, son?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why don't we go on in?
I've been thinking about you. Oh, good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Dante.
Do a cheer for me.
I bet his tip is like a lizard.
Okay, girls, let's hurry up. The cans are packed. Come on.
Our team is back later, right? This is the fan, something better to cheer about. You're unbelievable. How's business?
It's going for great down here.
Really? What is he doing down there? Oh, he looks for change that people drop out of their pockets and he looks up real straight.
Think you're doing? You're supposed to use your head, not your fist, you little idiot. Your scholarship just walked out the door.
Where's your mystery door?
Who won?
Didn't you watch?
I've been waiting for you. upside down?
Yeah? Why don't you just take me home? I gotta study.
Okay, now we work on brake. Come on, okay. Don't touch the thing unless I'm down here watching. Your brakes may need a little adjustment. Adjustment? So have you worked in your car much? No. I haven't been underneath the car in a long time. How come? Hey, I just policy outside. Well, that's where the problem is. I used to like working on cars with you. Yeah. Yeah. Remember the time under my dad's car? We took that part out. Didn't put it back in. You were just fooling around. I wasn't fooling around. I never said a word about it. Well, that was a long time ago, then. I'll never forget what you taught me. You use a screwdriver, it's always righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Remember that. Never forget. What time does the train get there?
I called Colleen's mother. I can't find him anywhere.
Why?
I'm sure that nothing. Where are they?
What time does the train get there, White?
Mr. Glenn, can't you ever give Dwight a break? Yeah. Can I just have one private moment about something very...
Get out, both of you! Tell it to Mrs. Kennard. Out! Both of you!
One son's always son? Shut up.
White Ingle? What's wrong?
When you're nervous, you know, just think about her mustache. And you'll feel good.
Asshole teachers.
Brian Ward. Come on, let's go. You know why you were sent down here, don't you?
I was disrespectful.
None of your teachers want you in the classroom.
Who doesn't want me?
got notes from your gym teacher, from your art teacher, and now from your math teacher saying you're uncooperative, disruptive.
Those are lies.
You interrupted me.
But those are lies.
Are you saying that your teachers are liars?
What do you think?
I think you're like every other teenager who's felt like you. You believe that the adult world is created to cause you harm. And nothing could be further from the truth. We want to help you take your mind and shape it. We want to put our values and virtues in your bodies so that we, the teachers, can live on in future generations. Are you willing to accept what we have to give you?
I'd rather suck donkey dick.
As of today, you're suspended.
Scraping scales off the side.
Hey, you! Goddamn kid, you think you own the place. Get off of my floor with those shoes.
I'm sorry. We'll go there.
Sorry doesn't get the skid marks off.
Big deal.
You bud. There's a time to be real and a time for manners. I'm going to teach you to say please and thank you and how to survive in this shit house. I'm the only teacher that you'll remember. I'm the custodian of your fucking destiny.
That man.
Right.
So what are you going to do this afternoon?
Math.
You're going to do homework.
Well, I ain't got no basketball scholarship. So, I gotta get into by using my brain.
he doing?